Hardy har, hello again, it's me, the Bargain Pirate, and I promised you a very special episode, and I, the Bargain Pirate, I deliver, motherfucker! Here you go. This episode's all about how I got my hands on this precious treasure, an NES Classic. So won't you join me for a very special Adventures in Game Chasing, yar. My tale begins as they usually do, with some late-night game chasing. So I look around the games section at my local microplay, and nothing I like, but I see something on the counter, and what's this? An NES Classic, I must have it! So I ask the girl at the counter, but she tells me that it's not for sale yet, and I have to ask to the boss tomorrow. So I come back tomorrow to talk to the boss. And, well, he tells me that it can be mine, but the person who sold it to them has to come and collect their money. So I have to wait an extra day. Undaunted, I tell them, fine, I'll come back the next day very early, just in case no one else sees it before I come back. And I come back, and it's still there very early in the morning, and then, well, it's theirs to sell now, so it's going to be mine to buy. And so I do. And you have to sell it retail there, so I get it for $70 because not only was it retailed, it was also used, so with tax it comes to $80 Canadian, which is an amazing price for such an item. Yar! And that was it for my tale of how I put my hands on a NES Classic. What a scurrilous and wonderful adventure. But now, for something special, I'm going to review all 30 games of the NES Classic. Let's go! Yar! Let's start with Super Mario Bros., the classic, the amazing game that not only put Nintendo on the map, but saved the entire video game industry after the infamous video game crash of 1982. This game is a classic. Next we have Excite Bike. It's a fun little sports game. Not much to say about this one. I'm not rating it very highly simply because it doesn't have much to offer, but it's not a bad game. No games on the console are bad. Ice Climbers, same deal. It's a very simple game. I like it, but it's not everyone's cup of tea, and you kind of get used to what it has to offer really fast. Again, low score, but not because it's a bad game, simply because there are better games. Like this one, Donkey Kong, the original. The real first game that put Nintendo on the map. Donkey Kong, what can you say about Donkey Kong that hasn't already been said? Look, monkey! And, of course, we followed that up with Mario Brothers. Not to be confused with Super Mario Brothers. Mario Brothers is a single and multiplayer game, where, as you can see on your screen, is basically just this one screen with different levels, and you have to bump the enemies upside down and collect coins. Then we have Donkey Kong Jr., the first sequel to the Donkey Kong series, where Mario is instead the villain, and Donkey Kong needs to be rescued by Jr. Cute, fun, a little harder than the original. I think it hasn't aged as well, but whatever. Up next we have Balloon Fight. Now this one's weird in that Nintendo seems really keen on pushing it these days. Play some classics on your Switch, such as Super Mario 3, Donkey Kong, and Balloon Fight. What's up with that? Next up we have Ghosts and Goblins. Probably not the best home port of this game. It's a fun enough game, but the one on the Super Nintendo and on the Genesis really kick its ass. Again, fun title, but not the best thing this console has to offer. Same thing with Gradius, which is pretty much the meat and potatoes of the shmup style. I mean, if you've played a shoot-'em-up, chances are you've played Gradius. It's a classic. I do like the power-up system, but again, nothing that complicated. Next up we have the myth, the legend, Castlevania, which is just so chock full of atmosphere, and it's got monsters and whips and guys wearing really short shorts. I mean, what else do you want from this game? Then we have Kid Icarus. Now, Kid Icarus is a fun one because I didn't really get to play that much when I was a kid. Nobody had it in my friends group, and I mean, it's a fun enough game. It does get a bit old fast, but it's kind of fun. The controls are tight, but no memories of that one. Now, if atmosphere is what you really want, you can't beat Metroid. I mean, just look at this game. It's crazy. Everything about this game is just so 80s, but so perfect. Only thing better than this is its Super Nintendo sequel, Super Metroid. Now that is a perfect game. I kind of feel the same about the original Zelda. It's an amazing game and brought along a lot of ideas, but the Super Nintendo sequel really kicks its ass. A lot of these Nintendo games are actually, even the classics suffer a bit from this, where they're like the blueprints of what's to come. We have Galaga, or Galaga Demons of Death on the NES, and this one, again, a low score simply because it's just Galaga on your NES. I mean, you've played a vertical shoot-'em-up, you've played Galaga, or Galaxian, or the others. Super Mario Bros. 2 is kind of a reskin Doki Doki Panic from Japan, the real Super Mario 2 being the Lost Levels. However, it gets a little deeper than that, and I might do an episode on this particular, origins of this particular game. Bobble Bobble, it's a classic, and I mean, I'm gonna shut up now so you can listen to this kick-ass music. Oh yeah. Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link, which is, if you don't know me, is the first Zelda game I've ever played, so my first experiences with this series was kind of an odd one. I mean, this is kind of the black sheep of the series, unless you count the CDI games, and it's not a bad game, but it's kind of hard for a Zelda game. Castlevania II Simon's Quest seems to get a really bad rep simply because it's the butt of a lot of jokes and it's been featured in one of the best early AVGN episodes. However, this game is not bad, it has a bit of flaws that can be overlooked. Tecmo Bowl. This is my real head-scratcher of this game. I guess you'd need a sports title on this console, since the NES had some sports titles that were very famous. But it's, again, I think it's the weakest game on the whole console. Ninja Gaiden! Ninja Gaiden! An awesome game where you star as Ninja Ryu Hayabusa, and you have to cut up people and, like, save some stuff or beat demons, I don't know. No titties in this Tecmo game, little disappointed. Mega Man 2, a lot of people's favorite Mega Man. I tend to gravitate more towards the X series, more of a Super Nintendo fan. However, on the NES, this is probably one of the top 6 ones. I think maybe number 3 I like a little more. Double Dragon 2. Another head-scratcher. Why did they put the second one instead of the first one? I think it's because the second one overall is a little less glitchy, whereas the first one has a lot of clipping and a lot of flashing. I don't know. Super Mario Bros. 3, complete with a visual bug on the right side of the screen so that they could explain how to fake that parallax. It's a great game, possibly the first 10 out of 10 game Nintendo made. It's a perfect game. Super C, I'm more fond of the first Contra, however this one has a lot more visual flair, I find. It's a fun game. I'm not a fan of the Contra series that much. I like my video games with energy bars, but this one's pretty good. Final Fantasy, the first one. This is really like a blueprint for things to come. I feel this is like, yeah, it's just a blueprint for a game like, say, Final Fantasy IV, aka Final Fantasy II. It's good, but eh. Punch-Out! Now here we go. Now this is an all-time classic. Punch-Out is one of my favorite games. Super Punch-Out kicks its ass a lot, but Punch-Out is still pretty good, and I have a hard time with Mike Tyson, but I have managed to beat him once. Now, Dr. Mario. This game, actually, playing it for this video, I managed to sink another 5 hours into this game before I realized I was still playing it. So, Dr. Mario is still pretty much the best non-Tetris game on here. My favorite game of the NES all-time, Star Tropics. I feel if you reskin this, it would make a lot, much better Zelda 2. I think Star Tropics deserves to have a sequel because it's one of the first-party Nintendo games that people forgot. Kirby's Adventure, another very favorite of mine. If I am getting one tattoo in my life, it might be a tattoo of Kirby. Kirby is one of my favorite characters, the game is fun, it's cheerful, and I cannot wait to play more of this game. And finally, we have Pac-Man, which is kind of a bizarre entry on this, because the original Pac-Man came out on a Tengen cart in the mid-80s, but Namco wasn't having any of that, and released their own official version in the mid-90s, of all things. And that was it for the NES Classic, a precious jewel in my collection, which is going to take the place of maybe my PS Vita. Here you go, NES Classic, looking sharp. Yarr! Now next time, back to normal a little bit, but we're gonna find some new things. Maybe some hidden gems? Who knows? So please, join me again on our next adventures in game chasing. Yarr!